Just the other day in the Follow Up Boss Facebook group, someone asked if they are building smart lists and automations based on the talk time on a phone call, such as 1 minute. What's the best way to do that? Once I saw that, first of all, other people beat me to it and tagged Daniel, but I knew that I had to go a step further and bug Daniel and see if he would be willing to show this on a video, and he graciously agreed. So, Daniel, thank you for your time today. So a little insight here before Daniel shares. Daniel's the founder of Interface, and this specific question comes up a lot of building smart lists and automations around talk times. That's not a native feature available in Follow Boss, at least at the time of recording this. So I just want to preface that if you're watching this 5 years down the road or something. But there is a workaround to do this through Interface, and I tapped Daniel on the shoulder to show you exactly how to do that within Interface. So Daniel, I'll let you take it from here.
Awesome. Appreciate you having me on here. Yeah, it is rare where someone beats you to it in the Follow Boss Facebook community, usually with that very first comment. So, but yeah, this is one of the use cases that teams use this most for. So our platform is kind of like Zapier, but built specifically for Follow Boss. So we just have a lot of automation triggers that don't exist in Follow Boss. And so you could set it up similar to Zapier. Most teams have us do the setup for we call them dynamic smart lists, but it's relatively simple to set up. So we're going to walk through what that process looks like today.
Cool.
So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. We're going to start in Follow Up Boss. So first we're going to start in Follow Up Boss, and I'm going to go to this weekly list so you can see how it's normally set up. So typically in Follow Up Boss, a smart list, like a weekly list, will be based off of last communication. So last communication was more than 7 days ago. But this is based off of any call, regardless of the length of the duration of the call. So if I go back into our platform, well, let me explain a little more. So what we're going to do is swap out this field, and instead of using last communication, we're going to use a custom date field. So we'll create a new field in Follow Up Boss. Let's say last conversation. And then instead of using last communication, we'll put last conversation, and that'll make the smart list based off of any call greater than 1 minute, or we typically set it at 95 seconds. So I'm going to come in here and go. So this is our platform. So we have a few different pieces of our platform. We have automation. So like I said, this is similar to Zapier, but built specifically for Follow Boss. We also have a form system. So it's like Google Forms or Jot Forms, but we could build the form directly into each lead record. And then we're in the process of launching an analytics platform, which will be available by the end of this quarter. But if I go into automation, we can set up different workflows. So I'm going to go to new workflow and do, conversations. All right. And so the triggers we have available are, we can trigger automation when a person is created, person is updated, deleted, tags created, stage updated, note created or updated, email created, appointment created or updated, text message created, call created, deal created or updated, and event created. So what we're going to do for calls, or for setting up smart lists, is we're going to do this call created. So this is going to be our trigger. And then we're going to test the trigger to pull in data, similar to how it works in Zapier. So this is all the data we pull in. And then now we have that tested. We're going to go and add a condition. And now we're going to go to advanced filter. And I'm going to do duration. Just need to spell it right. All right, so here's our call duration. So the test is 0 seconds, but when a call happens, I'm going to set it at typically we do 95 seconds. 95 seconds is typically any call that goes to voicemail and a voicemail is left is finished by 95 seconds. Some teams want to set it different. So if you just want to do the conversation and follow up us, that's 2 minutes. Some people want to do a minute. But we're going to do greater than or equal to 95 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. So to explain a little bit further what Daniel was just sharing, in follow-up boss, this data gets pushed over to interface of the call duration, but what follow-up boss is not able to detect is whether or not the person answers the phone call. So we're kind of guesstimating, and based on Daniel's experience with the time slots with call duration, if you hit someone's voicemail and you leave a message, we want to ensure that we exclude those people if you want to only count people that actually had a conversation. And so Daniel was just explaining that typically once you hit 95 seconds, that's usually safe to say, okay, if it was a voicemail, it wouldn't have lasted this long. So this was most likely a conversation, even if a very short pick up, hang up conversation.
Exactly. And so now we have put our condition in there. Now we're going to do, we're going to populate custom field. So now I pull up the custom field and we're going to do last conversation. And then we populate today's date because today is when the conversation happened. And so now anytime a call happens, it's greater than 95 seconds, we're going to populate today's date into the custom field. And so in follow boss, if I go back here to the people screen and I go to weekly, so now it's last communication. It was more than 7 days ago. What we're going to do is last conversation which is our custom date field, was more than 12. We always set it at 12 hours ago. And so when this is set today, that means the lead will show up today. Actually, let me back up. So if we were setting this as a smart list of 7 days, we would need to do one more step, which is utilities, and we need to add 7 days. So let's assume this was a 7-day list. We're going to do a date calculator. We do today's date. Oops. And we want to add 7 days to it. Okay. And so now we take the calculated date and put it in here.
So you're basically updating this custom field to update once 7 days has passed since the last conversation.
Exactly. So if we wanted a smart list that is a weekly list where it's you're speaking to the agent you want to be speaking to the agent every 7 days, then we would set this to be 7 days out. And now when you have a conversation, it would drop them off for 7 days. And so then we would set up another workflow for call less than 95 seconds, and then we would drop that off for 2 or 3 days. And so that way you essentially have redial rules where call happens that's longer than 95 seconds. Because here's the issue that happens. If you want to be speaking to a lead every 7 days and you call and get voicemail and it drops them off for 7 days, now if you get 3 or 4 voicemails in a row, it's been 3-4 weeks since you've spoken to somebody. And if you want to be speaking to that person weekly, that's when you get the dreaded, we listed with somebody else. And so we can essentially set up dynamic redial rules where if you call and speak to them, calls greater than 95 seconds, we drop them off for a full week. But if the call is less than 95 seconds, we drop them off for a couple of days. And so now if your agent calls, gets voicemail, it'll drop them off for 2 days. 2 days later, call, another voicemail, 2 more days. Now if you get 3 or 4 voicemails in a row, you're still speaking to them in 6 to 8 days rather than 3 to 4 weeks. And so it just prevents leads from slipping through the cracks. And so now if I go back to Follow Boss, we have this custom field. When that date becomes today, the lead will show back up on the list. So if it's a conversation that happens, it'll set it for 7 days out. When 7 days goes by, it shows up. If the call happens, it's less than 95 seconds, it sets that date for 2 days out. And so then when that date becomes today, the lead shows back up. And so we could do it for any combination of activity. So what a lot of teams do is their weekly list will be last call that was not greater than 95 seconds. It drops them off for 7 days. Last call that's less than 95 seconds, 2 days. Outbound text, outbound email, it drops them off for 3 days, because a lot of times your agents will just go and fire off a bunch of texts. If you have like a weekly call with an agent, right before the weekly call, they go and send off a bunch of texts. So all their smart lists clear out. And now a whole week goes by before they need to follow up again. So we drop them off for 3 days for an outbound text or outbound email. Inbound text, inbound email, you have to reply to the text or email so we can make the lead show back up on the smart list immediately. So that's a little bit more advanced setup than what we just showed. What we just showed would be outbound call is greater than 95 seconds, and then we would need to set up one more workflow for less than 95 seconds, and it would be a smart list just for calls. But we can get really granular with it.
Yeah, that's a really unique take and approach that a lot of people don't think about. Is sure, you have a weekly list, but you want to approach people that you haven't connect with differently than people you have, to where just because you attempted the call and you feel good about yourself for doing the call even though they didn't answer, like, doesn't mean you want them disappearing for a total of 7 days. You want to try more often with the people you didn't reach than the people you did, to your point.
Exactly.
Now, a question for you, this is a common question we get, is, well, what about the filter you can add for talk time? There is a downside to the talk time and the reason why interface exists. Can you explain the downside to the talk time field in Follow Boss?
Yeah, so the talk time field in Follow Boss, and a lot of people don't realize this, is it's total talk time for the lead ever. And so if you call and have a conversation with somebody for 2 minutes, your talk time will be 2 minutes. And then if you call and have another conversation with them for 5 minutes, now that'll be 7 minutes. It won't be 5 minutes. So it's going to be the cumulative talk time. And so you just can't set up smart lists based off the most recent call duration in Follow Boss right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not only like last call, but then exactly the last call's specific duration. And
Yeah,
this is just one very, very small example of what you can do in interface. I just knew that I had to tap Daniel on the shoulder and answer this question. So Daniel, for those of you who are for those that are watching this and that are unfamiliar with interface or want to learn more, where should they go?
So interface.re is our website. You can schedule a demo there. We have a lot of info on our site. We've done a lot of videos like this, just going through the different use cases, because we do have a lot of, like I said, it's like Zapier, so you could build anything with it. And so we have a lot of different use cases that we've shown in videos in our blog. So interface.re is the best place to find us.
Cool. Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question is, you can do so much with this, but do you provide examples and ideas? Because just with Zapier, you'll see questions all the time of, how are you using Zapier? Well,
Exactly.
there's millions of ways you can use it. So you need to get more specific of what's your problems, what are your goals. So I'm glad that you offer those examples and use cases.
Yeah. And so quickly, the other use case for our automation platform that's really popular is we can automate agent accountability really well. So if your agents, doesn't matter how good the smart lists work, if your agents aren't doing the follow-up, it really doesn't matter. And so we can make it so regardless of what time frame the lead needs to be followed up on, we can do @mention nudges. So if they're on a weekly list on day 10, we can nudge the agent and say, hey, you're supposed to do the follow-up, please do the follow-up, or this lead will get reassigned to a pond. And then on day 12, we can automatically move the lead into a pond if the agent still hasn't followed up. And so we use our call, text, email triggers to reset those timelines. So when the call, text, or email happens, Now we reset the clock and give them another 10 days if they're on a weekly list. And as the stage changes and they're on a different cadence, then we reset the clock again to be the new cadence based on what stage they're in. And so you can fully automate your agent accountability. So if your agents aren't doing the follow-up they're supposed to, then the lead won't just sit there gathering dust with an agent who's not doing the follow-up.
And they can't just get around it by logging a call. They actually have to have the talk time logged through the dialer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time, Daniel. Thank you for sharing this quick little tip for those who were curious. I know this will not be the last time this question comes up. So we will be sharing this with anytime this question comes up. So thank you.
Awesome. All right.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.